Boxing talk show, fair but firm, with the Hall of Fame boxing referee. I'm Joe Cortez for all of Las Vegas. Come on, guys, let's touch them up. Clean fight. I'm Joe Cortez, fair but firm.
Welcome to the Fair but Firm show here with Joe Cortez and my co-host, John Zimmel. John, today we're going to have none other than Jerry Izenberg. He's a boxing historian, Hall of Fame. He's been inducted into 15 Hall of Fame. He's working right now in his 14th book.
That's unbelievable. I, for one, could not be more excited to have Jerry Izenberg on the show. We all know his accolades. We all know his resume speaks for himself. And I like that being a co-host on the only boxing podcast I could think of that has two International Boxing Hall of Fame inductees on it in the same show. That's pretty hard to do. Yourself being the other one, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking to these historians, especially Jerry Izenberg. Jerry Izenberg brings so much to boxing. He's a walking Bible about boxing. We're going way back to the days of back when the mob used to control boxing.
Yeah.
And we had him at the Hall of Fame in 2016. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame.
That's exciting. And because they have, what are they called? The Observer category, right?
Exactly.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, and you know, John, it's been with boxing, when you get an individual like Jerry Izenberg, he's a person that I looked up to for many years, and you can trust with the sport of boxing. I can
Absolutely.
put boxing in his hands, and I know that boxing is gonna hear nothing but the best because he's been around the block many times.
Fight fans, I highly recommend his book from 2017, just last year, There Were Giants, When There Were Giants. It's about the heavyweight division of old and back in the golden age, which I know a lot of people love talking about, Joe especially.
Well, we have here on the line with us Jerry Izenberg. Jerry, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. And you?
Okay, great. You know, I've been talking to so many individuals out there in the boxing world and individuals on the networks and on radio talking about how boxing started way back in the days. And you can walk us through some of this. But before we walk some of these questions, I want to ask you, Jerry, and I tell you, I take my hat off to you. And we spent, when you got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I was with you the whole weekend.
Yeah, you were.
And that was a weekend to remember because, I've been around many champions, and so have you. But being with you that weekend up in Canastota, New York, to share those special moments. We were up on the stage together when you receive your ring that we all wear proudly.
Yeah.
And I gave you a big hug and a kiss because I truly love you, Jerry. You're a man of character, a man that respected worldwide. But I want you to tell the listeners out there a little bit about your background. I know you're writing your 14th book right now. I want you to tell me a little bit about your background. I know you were inducted into 15 Hall of Fames, but the main one, it was the one that you were inducted last with. That was the International Hall of Fame, Canastota.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in boxing as a journalist? What happened?
Well, I really got started in newspapering. I went to the urban branch of Rutgers because I couldn't afford to go to college, really. And in order to go, this is in Newark, New Jersey. In order to go, I worked 40 hours a week at night in a chemical plant. And the chemical plant blew up in my junior year. And I had to get a job. And something opened at the Ledger, which wasn't going to be enough money, but I went down there because I had to do something. And paper was not very good in those days. And within a week, I was writing. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but we put on a good show. And that was in 1951. And from then on, I've been at the Herald Tribune in New York, which is a great paper. I was there for 3 years. But other than that, I've really been at the Ledger, taking off the Tribune and taking off the Korean War. I was there 69 years. And I just loved it. I'm a New Jersey kid, and I'm a Newark kid.
Yeah, Newark.
And for that, I'm very grateful. And I began to just get better assignments. And I went to the Tribune. Then the Ledger called me when I come back and write their sports column. And I one who had a great sports center in New York, and I was young, and I was trying to see what I could do over there, and so I turned him down 3 times, and I was on a road trip, and Boston. I said, all right, I'll come in, and I did, and it was the smartest move I ever made in my life, because really, I know the people. As you know, Joe, if you're from New Jersey, it's not like anywhere else.
Right.
I knew what I was one of them, and they were one of mine. And for all those years, we struck a nerve, and we got. I mean, the people responded to me, and I responded to them, and it was just great. Then, but the first, I started going to boxing matches at Laurel Garden in Newark, which is the indoor arena, and Meadowbrook Bowl, which is a kind of an old, crumbling, maybe 1,200-seat arena, wooden seats. If you sat there long enough, you got splinters up your ass. And but I learned. It was a great way to learn. I will tell you a quick story about my early days in covering boxing.
Let me the question, Jerry. Now you were in Newark. Now that was the only arena in Newark. Was there another big?
No. There was Laurel Garden, which was the indoor arena.
Right.
There was Meadowbrook Bowl, which is a small outdoor arena. There was the Newark Armory, where Primo Carnera came a little before me, but I know all the stories. And there was the Bears Ballpark, and I saw Graziano and Zale there.
Right.
So we had a fight every week. Every single week, 52 weeks a year, there was a fight in Newark. And it was great grounding. So when I went over to New York, I only covered a couple of fights. And the guy who was our boxing writer went to the sports area and said, look, you got me on 7 different assignments. I got to get a break. Let the kid do the club fights. What an education that was, because we had Fort Hamilton, we had Eastern Parkway, we had St. Nick's, we had I think there were 13 in the New York, Long Island area.
Right.
And now I'm getting my first to Fort. I'm looking at in those days, if you had a New York event, no, it was St. Nick's. St. Nick's was in Manhattan. And if you had a New York event, you didn't have to have a world champion. If you had a kid from the East Side fighting a kid from Greenwich Village, that was the main event. And sometimes the main event at the Garden, because boxing was total king.
Yeah, Jerry, when you talk about the Garden, we're talking about Madison Square Garden, the Mecca.
I'm talking about the second Garden, the one on 50th and 49th.
Right. Now that's when I used to go there, you had Nat Fleischer, who had his office right above the entrance.
Nat Fleischer, yeah, he was right above. You could sit in his office and you could look down at the lobby.
Right, exactly. The old where I won my New York by
when you were on the 30th Street,
and the 60s.
34th Street, yeah.
No. I won it there at the old Garden.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, 1960, 61.
Well, there's an interesting. We're getting off boxing. All of the old Garden. There were gardens before that, but that was and the new Garden. Each open. Madison Square Garden and 50th and 49th opened with Paul Burlingback defending the light heavyweight championship.
Oh, wow.
And then when they opened the new one, Joe Frazier was fighting for the New York State version of the World Championship.
Right.
That's why I'm interested. I'm in Nevada now, but I'm really interested in what's going on with the Brooklyn Arena, because they are coming back to where boxing, for that borough, coming back to where boxing was. But I'll tell you about this first fight over at St. Nick's. So in those days, if you had a kid from one part of New York, another part, it was a main event. Well, in this case, there was a kid from Greenwich Village who was a pretty good fighter, who was a welterweight, and I don't remember the names, but he was fighting the welterweight champion of Pennsylvania.
Right.
Let me help. Watched and I scoring and I did all these things. Now the main event comes in. A kid from the Lower East Side was a pigeon fancier, okay?
Right.
And it's like Tyson was, And coming into the ring, and suddenly all the guys in the Lower East Side are there, open their coats, and they got pigeons in them.
Wow.
And the pigeons fly straight up to the sky, except they can't get out because there's a roof.
Right.
So now the referee's giving instructions, and I'm sitting here, all of a sudden it feels splat on the top of my head. Splat and splat. And then I look at my paper, and we didn't have computers, so I know a small portable typewriter made by Olivetti in Italy, mine. And writing on it's got all this gook all over it.
The
and I'm wiping
pigeons.
it off and trying to write. Well, the fight starts, and there's so much pigeon crap in the ring, both fighters fall down. So by the time the fight ends, I've been rubbing paper to try to make it legible when I type. In those days, we had a Western Union guy sit next to us, and he would type out your story in Morse code.
Right.
And back at the paper, somebody would take it with earphones and type it up. I hand the guy this 2 pieces of paper, and the guy looks at me and says, "What's this?" I said, "Well, that's my story. You gotta do something with it. Maybe if you have a problem, I'll tell you what it says." And he says, "I'm not." Tribune, and that's an important paper, and paper. Go get a cab and take it to your office.
Well,
I go to my office, and I walk in, and the guy, "What's that smell?" And I said, "Here, this is." He said, "Don't hand that thing to me." I said, "But that's just." He said, "Give it to me." Throws it in the garbage. Says, "Go wash your hands." That was my first real that humility.
Yeah.
It's funny, Jerry. You mentioned the same. I fought there on numerous occasions doing the Spanish Golden Glove in the early '60s. Remember, but never saw the pigeons up on the rafters. Those pigeons are all.
Listen, they messed up my copy in my head. I'll tell you this. What St. Nick's? There's a Latino guy we both had a great deal of love for, and that was the late
Jose Chewy Torres, yes.
And when he was a middleweight, I thought he could have been really remembered for all time as a middle guard, and the guy never got to fight for the town because
right.
It's a shell of what he used to be.
Right.
From middleweight, I started.
They were big fans. Yeah, exactly. Wow. St. Nicholas Arena was a small arena, just like it was in Sunnyside Garden in Queens. Another small arena, but which I fought there as well. And I'll tell you, Jerry is talking about those pigeons. They're called clinkers. A clinker. That's why I was back in the days. My friends would tell me, my Jewish friends would tell me, "Joe, stay away from that guy. That guy's a clinker." I mean, not many people know that word.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, well, they call them clinkers.
We spoke a different language in Newark, but on the other hand, both cities really didn't speak English.
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, tell me that you go back to the days when boxing was controlled by the mob.
Oh, yeah.
The mob controlled boxing.
I knew those guys.
Yeah, I know. And we talked about it a while back, and I want you to tell our listeners out there a little bit about how boxing was controlled by the mob, where you couldn't get a championship fight because I don't care how good you were, they kept the champion on top as long as they wanted because they threw a little bunch of palookas out there to fight them because they didn't want to lose the title. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'll tell you how it worked. Carbo, of course, was the king of boxing.
Frankie Carbo.
If you went catty corner from the old guard, there was a place called the Garden Cafeteria.
Right.
And he used to come in on Wednesdays. It was Tuesdays and Thursdays was college basketball. Pros weren't playing there then. And Friday night was boxing. And Sunday and Saturday, hockey. So Wednesday, nothing was going on over there. He would sit at the same table, and that was his office.
Right.
And all the managers who come in had it, and I got this good kid, you know, and he laid down conditions. The one thing about him was, I mean, horrible and wretched human being that he was a great boxing commissioner, because he always had no problem making great fights, because he would own either fighter, both of them. When there was a promoter in Newark named Willie Izenberg, and Willie was involved with the guy who had brought Carnera over, and that's a great story, but it's too long to tell you now. But anyway, Carbo had the lightweight champion of the world, a middleweight champion of the world, Betty Briscoe.
Betty Briscoe.
Carbo goes over. He also was a button man for the Genovese family. So he gets a phone call. We need a little help. Go over to the Carteret Hotel in Elizabeth and ring the doorbell at the penthouse and kill everybody in there. So he did. And after he did that, he walked across the street to the Elizabeth, New Jersey Police Department, because they were on the Genovese pad. And he said, gee, I did a terrible thing. And the guy said, well, I killed Big Greenie and I killed this other. Oh, must have been self-defense. Oh, well, they didn't have a gun, but they would have gotten one. So, yeah, it was self-defense. So they said, well, we can handle this beef. Go in the back. We have to stay here in the jail for maybe a couple of months till we get it straight. We can get it straightened out. Now, Izenberg had Laurel Guard, which was nicknamed by some people the Tub of Blood. They had great fights here. And anybody who was going to go to New York and who was unknown in New York, he had to fight Laurel Garden first.
And how about Teddy Brenner? Where did Teddy Brenner, the promoter?
Teddy Brenner. Okay, so now he says he's got no event, and he's like 3 weeks away from it, you know, for his next main event. He's going crazy. And he speeds this thing about Carbo being arrested. He knows Carbo manages Briscoe. He calls up Abe Green. In those days, we had one boxing association, the National Boxing Association, and Abe Green was the commissioner and a good friend of his. He said, Abe, you know, Briscoe hasn't fought for a while, and I got a middleweight, and you know, you really ought to make him fight or take his title. Abe says, great idea. So he says, I'm going to send him a letter. Now Izenberg puts the plan into action. He goes across from where he is to the Elizabeth Police Department. He walks to the sergeant and says, I want to see Frank Carbo. Nobody here by that name. I don't know where you got that name from. Oh, he forgot. The alias was Mr. Gray. So he said, well, I meet Mr. Gray. Well, I don't know. He's very busy. I'll see if guy's in jail. I'll see if he has time for you. Comes out and he says, you don't know who you are. He'll give you 5 minutes and make it fast because he's very busy. So Gilly walks into the back of the jail, and the cell door is open, and we had a 5-star restaurant in Newark those days called the Tavern. The mob owned that too. And 2 guys with black leather aprons, old-fashioned waiters, are setting up his dinner table in the cell. And he's getting a manicure. And he says to Izenberg, well, what do you want? I don't know who you want. He said, well, look, you know, they want to take your thing. I'll tell you what I'll do to you. You're going to take my fighter? No, you don't understand. They're going to take the title away unless he defends. So what do you want from me? Well, I got a fight club here, and I got a guy named Tony Fisher. Nice kid. He can't spell box, much less do it. You fight him, everything will work out. You'll save your title. I'll make a payday. And he said, all right, so okay, that's all it is. Go do it. He said, really, that's all? He said, no, not quite that way. You got to go to the Italo-American Social Club on Pineapple Street in Brooklyn. And you couldn't make these names up. And you got to go there and you got to ask for Joey A., who is Joey Adonis, you know, a master mafioso. He goes down there and the guy says, what are you doing here? You don't belong. He said, no. Mr. Gray sent me to see Joey A. Well, you better be telling the truth. Goes in the back. Says, he'll give you 5 minutes. He's very busy. What do you want? He goes in there and he starts to tell the story about Briscoe and this and that. He says, I don't want to hear that stuff. Mr. Gray wants to fight. You got to fight. He said, just like that? He said, well, you know, usual rules. This makes your point about the mob. And Gildy says, well, what are the usual rules? It's his first time with the mafia. What are your usual rules? Very simple. Your fighter wins, we own him. He said, well, when do I get my fighter back? After he loses.
Well, you know, Jerry, I mean, those are stories that people have never heard before.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I want to talk now a little bit about in the era of Muhammad Ali, let's go back a little bit. Let's go to Marciano, Joe Louis, then we go to Muhammad Ali. Now, you were around, that's when the boxing was really hot. The heavyweight division was always the division that was the glamour division in boxing. And, you know, walking into Madison Square Garden on 49th, 50th Street and 8th, you had all the celebrities. It was a heavyweight fight. Everybody came out that night. Tell me about it.
I'll tell you, you know, all the crap in boxing now. Now they have the fog and the music and the rappers when they come in the ring, and you know, just to set the stage for that. Lou Duva, who was a good guy, the manager, promoter,
right?
He had a fighter fighting in the garden, and the music plays. He's in the tunnel there with the guy. All right, we gotta go. Guy says, I ain't fighting. What do you mean you're not fighting? That ain't my music. I'm not going out there till they play my music. I'm standing next to Duva, and he turns to me and says, can you believe this? Could you see Joe Louis standing here and saying, I'm not going till I hear my music? That's what it's become, you know, now. Yeah. But in the old days, there was no music to bring fighters in. You had a heavyweight title fight, first of all. You were walking into Madison Square Garden as it was on no other night of the year.
Right.
And you know, and I'd be sitting at ringside, right? And I'd start to hear the sound. And it's a slow rumble. No music, nothing. What it was, the first fighter was spotted coming into the arena.
Right.
Right? And the sound grew and grew. Sometimes it was boos, but whatever it was, they believed what they wanted. And Benjamin Franklin, when he was out there with the kite and the key, he couldn't have gotten the electricity that you got in the garden.
Really?
It was an electric, you could almost reach up and pull it down.
You know, Jerry...
Sometimes when the bell rang, it was very disappointing yesterday. But till that bell rang, it was magic.
You know, I remember, Jerry, with that, the electricity, the air was like no other. I mean, walking into the garden, coming into the arena, you see everybody, all the ladies with the mink coats and the hats and the guys. I mean, it was like...
The garment center guys with the pinky rings.
Yeah, exactly. Pinky rings.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was unbelievable. It was like the most glamorous. It was like you think you were going to a modeling show. It was like the most beautiful ladies and gentlemen. It was like you could sit out there all day long, just watch them all walk by. It was just unseen before.
And they were all at ringside.
All at ringside. You see, you go on YouTube, look at the old fights back in the 50s and 60s. Everybody at ringside, all the gentlemen had a hat on, suits with ties.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was decked out.
You know, the Garden was a special place on fight night. It was a special place, period.
Right.
But on fight night, it took on a different character.
Right.
I have a lot of memories of that building, and one of my, I can't say fondest, but one I could never erase if I wanted to. And there was a kid named Frankie Narvaez. You remember him?
Frankie Narvaez, yes.
Yeah,
Puerto Rican kid, lightweight.
Because he was a Puerto Rican who'd never been to Puerto Rico.
Right, who fought Ismael Laguna.
A Neo Rican. So now he's got to fight Flash Elordi, who, before Pacquiao, was the greatest thing ever to come out of the Philippines.
Exactly.
All right, now the fight starts. I'm telling you, it's a no-hitter. I mean, everybody, even bad officials had to make it 15-0. I mean, no chance at all. As soon as the fight ended, the guys up in the top balcony decided that Narvaez had won the fight.
I was there.
Okay. They take the fire axes off the wall.
I remember that.
They're chopping up seats and throwing them at ringside.
Yeah. How about the organ up on the balcony?
Yeah, they threw the organ over the side.
Okay.
It was an incredible night. Okay.
I was there.
Now I got it right with all this going on around me. So I go under the ring with my typewriter.
Right, exactly.
And I'm laying on my stomach and I'm writing this story.
Right.
There was a guy named Mandelbaum who worked for the wire services, and he was the hero. He was about 5'1".
Right.
He crawled on his stomach to the ring. I give him the first page. He crawled back when they're throwing stuff at him, and went on and on and on. The next day, Harry Markson was the vice president in charge of boxing.
Yeah, Matt Square Garden, right.
And he had a voice. He used to speak like this. and we used to call him the rabbi. And he called me on the phone, and he said, Jerry, I really want to talk to you about what you wrote this morning's paper. I said, well, go ahead, Harry. I'm on the phone. I'm not going to hang you up. He said, I wouldn't have called what happened last night a riot. And I said, what would you call it, Harry? He said, I would say more of a disturbance. I said, you know, Harry, you could be right. My father used to take great time with me to talk about life experience. And one day he said, you got to learn something from every life experience you have. And Harry walked right into it. He said, and did you learn anything last night? I said, yeah, I learned two very important facts of life. Gallo wine bottles shatter, and Puerto Rican rum bottles don't.
That's right. That's right. I tell you, it was an amazing night. I remember going out the side of the building. They had these fire escapes, and you had to go out to the side.
Yeah.
And we went out the fire escape, and it was crazy. The whole place had the riot police and the fire department. It was just crazy. I mean, I think people remember more about the riot than they do about the fight.
Yeah, well, it wasn't much of a fight, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, he was a nice kid, and he was a willing guy, and he respected his mother and father, but he couldn't fight very well.
Yeah, he was a pretty decent fighter, but he also fought Ismael Lagoon, if I recall. Frankie Navarre was a decent kid, and Pete Mello was his trainer, I believe, from downtown, and young kid. And I was talking to Juan Laporte the other day. We brought up Frankie Navarre's name, and we talked a little bit about that fight. Juan Laporte was a featherweight champion. You recall that he went up to lightweight. He ended up fighting Julio Cesar Chavez, well,
he was so over his head that night.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things.
Flesh
with
is
the
already.
death of boxing, you know, most papers don't even have boxing writers anymore.
Right.
So with the death of the publicity and everything, exposure, a lot of really great fighters are forgotten.
Right. Well, that's why I wanted you to get on the show today to educate our listeners who are watching. Also, we're on live on Facebook, but we're also going to put this on my radio station, Fair But Firm. And I want fans out there to know that you are one of the most outstanding individuals in the whole sport of boxing. I mean, I come back from I'm old school like yourself. I'm from the 50s when I started boxing, late 50s, and then I started in the amateurs in the 60s, 61, 62.
Yeah.
And but I always respected you as a journalist. I mean, you wrote it the way it was. And to this day, you're still on top of your game, not only boxing, but you cover other sports. Tell me a little bit about the other sports that you cover, Jerry.
Well, I'm one of two writers that's covered every Super Bowl.
Wow.
I've done 55 Kentucky Derbies.
Wow.
And I do the Triple Crown races as part of this new contract I have. And it's interesting to me, since in 1948, I was a high school kid, cutting school, and I was more interested in going to sneak into where the Bears played their AAA baseball and stuff like that. But, and I really was getting my introduction to boxing very slowly. And there was the thing was, you walk, all of this stuff. Oh, we have so many. We only had 8 championships. We didn't have any, junior lightweight, senior lightweight, bar mitzvah lightweight. You want a title? We'll make one up. We'll give it to you.
Right.
And you can't keep track at all. Now, in the old days, there were 8 champions.
Right.
And they always came from the minority community.
Yeah, you know what, Jerry? I just want to say you had the flyweight, the bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight. That was it.
Yeah, light heavyweight too.
Light heavyweight, yeah, and heavyweight.
Yeah.
That was it. No, this other stuff is, well, I can't say it. But anyway, the point is, here's the point I'm trying to make. You knew who the heavyweight champion was. Let's take the heavyweight champion.
Right.
You knew who the heavyweight champion. When Lewis was fighting, you knew he was the heavyweight champion. You know, if he wanted to fight 1,000 years, he might be the heavyweight champion 1,000 years.
Right.
When Marciano was fighting, you knew he was the heavyweight champion.
Right.
And whether you liked him or not, when Ali was fighting, you knew he was the heavyweight champion.
Right.
But there are periods, and we're in one now, and it's been lasting a long, long time. Here's my test. Stop anybody on the street. Let's say you stop 10 people, right? Who is the heavyweight champion? You know what they'll say to you?
They don't know.
And you know what that means? There isn't one. That's what it means.
Yeah.
You know, you knew who the heavyweight champion was when we had one. And then you had all these guys come and go, and now they're all excited about the guy, Kid Joshua in England, and Deontay Wilder in Alabama. And it's funny because somebody said, I did a lot of interviews on the BBC, and a guy called me and he said, somebody told me you like Joshua. I said, as a prospect, I like him. I don't make the champion.
Right.
And he said, well, you know, who would win if he fought when he fights Wilder? And then I said, let me ask you a question. What's the difference? Now let me ask you another question. After that fight is fought, who's the winner going to fight?
Right.
There's nobody left.
Yeah, exactly. Jerry,
Those
listen.
guys are all power forwards now in basketball, or flankers, or linebackers in football, and they don't box.
Jerry, I have my co-host here, John Zimmel, wanted to ask you a question. He's a new kid on the block. He loves boxing. He loves all sports. But he's going to want to ask you a question. John, go ahead.
Jerry, I just wanted to ask you referenced. Sorry.
I can't hear you, but go ahead.
Give me a second.
Call it.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, what's the matter?
Sorry, Jerry.
All right.
Jerry, you referenced the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and you were saying how that's a kind of a testament back to the old school, and I was curious what makes you say that.
Say it again?
You said the Barclays Center, the arena in Brooklyn, you were saying how a lot of that is a testament back to the way that the Garden and boxing used to be back in the day?
We used to have a lot of small clubs in Brooklyn, too. A lot of them. And they would feed people into the Garden. Now, the new arena in Brooklyn is taking over that role, very much so. Number one, it's more progressively run when it comes to boxing, and there's a natural interest in boxing in Brooklyn, and the neighborhoods are filling the role that the New York neighborhoods used to be. Greenwich Village and Harlem and Spanish Harlem and Hell's Kitchen, and you match those guys. You didn't need champions. They match it. They sell out the place. Well, you got Bushwick and you got Williamsburg, and and you got Red Hook. They're stepping into that role, and I really think there will be a great boxing renaissance in Brooklyn. The question is, do they have any boxers?
That's
the question America has to ask.
Right.
That makes a ton of sense.
Okay, Jerry, listen, I want to just tell you that it was an honor having you on our show with us today, because there's no other Jerry Izenberg on this planet. It's only one. You know, they have to make a mold to get somebody. It won't even be close to you. You're God sent. You give all the information. You're one of a kind. And I want to sit down with you one day, maybe for 2 days. I want to videotape you from the beginning to the end. And then I know it'll never stop, because an interview with you will be like the best interview anybody can do on this planet.
Well, I really appreciate everything you're saying. We'll talk about the beginning, and we'll talk about what happened and what is happening. The end, I don't want to know about. So that's it.
Well, brother, I want to tell you I love you, man. I hope to see.
As we used to say in Newark, right back at you.
Okay, stay well. Give my love to the missus.
I sure will.
And we'll talk to you soon. God bless.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye. Hey, fans, we had the pleasure of talking to one of the greatest. I mean, when you talk one of the greatest, Jerry Izenberg is really the top of the line.
You guys, an encyclopedia, man.
He is a walking encyclopedia. He's an historian, knows everything about boxing, but again, he can talk about other sports.
My God, yes. Every Super Bowl. That's incredible.
Yeah. And Jerry Izenberg's got to be in his mid-80s, and he'll admit it. He'll tell you his age. He's been around the block many times, and we're blessed to have had him on our show today. Hey, fans, with that said, we'll talk to you next week. And remember, keep your guards up at all times, protect yourself at all times, and remember, I'm fair, but I'm firm.